a brand new CNN poll revealing what Americans think about Donald Trump and how he's performing on key issues, with some good news for the president. His approval rating ticked up, and Americans feel better about the economy today than they have in nearly 2 decades. CNN's Phil Mattingly joins me now from the Magic Wall. Phil, first, how is the president faring in this new poll?
Well, Dana, better, marginally better, still underwater. But if you take a look at the top line approval number, the president's job approval rating is at 42%. Disapproval, 51%. That's the lowest share of Americans disapproving that have been polled over the course of his entire presidency. Now, where does that actually put him historically over the course of the last couple of months? You see the uptick. 2 months ago, in the middle of the shutdown, he was at 37%. Last month, at 40%. Now at 42%. So as you noted, he's starting to tick up. Now, where does this put him 596 days compared to where past presidents were in the third year of their term at this moment? Well, take a look. He's at the lower end at 42% right now. Ronald Reagan, 1983, was at 41%. Bill Clinton, 1995, was at 44%. You will note both of those individuals won their reelection, but still at the bottom tier. But if you want to know why the president's, or at least one of the potential reasons why the president's approval rating could be taking a tick up, look at this. Current economic conditions, of those polled, 71% say that's good. Why does that matter? What's the context there? That is the best number since February of 2001. Obviously, everybody's been talking about the good economy. The president's advisors want people to talk more about the good economy. Clearly, 71% of Americans that were polled saying the economy is good at this moment, reflecting that. The big question is, will that carry over, and will that lead to future upticks as well, Dana?
And Phil, what about the president's first veto? He did it on a bipartisan attempt to block his national emergency declaration. How do Americans feel about that?
Yeah, the president, obviously, central issue of his campaign, central issue of his presidency. His first veto going against 12 Republicans in the Senate related to the national emergency declaration on that border wall. Well, broadly, Americans are opposed. Only 35% of those polled say that President Trump should have vetoed that congressional resolution to terminate the border wall. So again, moving in the different direction of where the public is. But Dana, I would note one key caveat here, and probably reflects where a lot of Republicans were who voted with the president. 72% of Republicans polled were with the president on this. So broadly, only 35% reported him. But as we've seen throughout the course of his time in office, Republicans, for the most part at least, sticking with the president, Dana.
Paul Begala, it's so great that you were at this table because you coined the economy stupid phrase. I mean, this is
I give Carville more credit than me.
Okay, so you and Carville. It was a package. It was a package team.
Got to be honest.
It's very un-DC of you.
But this is a big deal. What he has, I just want to put up this poll again, this brand new poll about the economy. This is just about the economy. Right. Current economic conditions. Okay, this is about his approval, 42%, which is not great, but not horrible. But there it is, 71%. The best economic news since before 9/11. Right. Why isn't he talking about this nonstop and not bothering with Judge Jeanine and John McCain and other things that people don't vote on?
Well, because at the end of the day, the economy is 320 million of us, and Donald Trump's world is just one person, and it's Donald Trump. The disconnect, usually, over time, the president's job approval tracks approval of the economy. For better, for worse, fairly or not, the economy's doing well. We like our presidents. You showed earlier, Phil did, the data from Presidents Reagan and Clinton, who cruised to easy re-elections, even though they're about the same place as Trump is today. But that's because they were in the upswing. They'd come in terrible recessions, and then they were starting to boom. Right now, we seem to be at the end of a long recovery that hasn't been as spectacular, maybe, as some people like. And that discount, you've a 29-point differential. What's he going to... So the economy has been his water wings, just keeping him from drowning. He's never had a day in office over 50%. Not a single day where the majority of Americans have approved of their president, despite this strong economy. For him, God forbid, when we go into a recession, I don't know what happens, but it'll be interesting to see.
I have to jump in here for a second because one of the frustrations I have is the president taking a lot of the credit for the economy. And remember, I was in the House of Representatives where we passed a lot of bills that he was able to sign into law. So I think some of the credit for the economy could be, I would love for him to say, I'd like to thank the House of Representatives for sending me some of these bills.
Don't hold your breath.
But but again, yes, I think it's important because I don't believe that we are on the downside of the economy. I think the economy is going to continue to do well. I voted for tax reform. I believe in tax reform. In my district, an average family of 4 saved $2,300. So it was good in my district, and I believe it's something that's actually helped the economy.
If he were thanking Congress, then he would be talking about the economy, at least. And that is something that he's not doing. And presidents, look, it's the way it is. They take credit, and that's just how it works.
But he's very undisciplined. I mean, there have been other days where they actually had good news to tout, and it couldn't last for an hour before he had to tweet something. And the other thing I would say is, I'm sorry, but if you're a Black American, if you're a Muslim American, if you're a Latino in this country, your president does not have your back. You don't feel it. So I don't care what the economy numbers are, but for a lot of us in this country, we don't feel like our president sees us, understands the challenges we face, cares about the challenges we face. So that's part of why the economy can be up here, but that 42% is not going to get much higher because he's all about himself, not about the rest of us.
Which is ironically how he got elected, by talking about the forgotten man and woman.